What's going on, everyone? My name is Twig, and today we are talking about my review after 100% of Space Marine 2. Really proud to be able to bring this one to you guys so quickly. With it being officially launched today, early access started last Thursday, and I bought the Ultra Edition, so I've been grinding this game pretty much non-stop with my brother to get all achievements and mark this one off my list for now until more content comes. In this review, you can expect to hear me talk about my experience as a whole, the story of the game with no story spoilers. I'll talk about the technical state and our experience on both PS5 as well as on PC through Steam using crossplay. We'll cover the basic aspects such as combat, gameplay, progression systems, and then end things off with an achievement breakdown as well as what you can expect if you plan to go for all achievements in this one. Feel free to skip around using the timestamps labeled in the description below, and also if you game on PC, add me on Steam or join my curator group on there. Both will also be linked down below. Grab a soda, get you a snack, and let's dive right into my experience and impressions playing this highly anticipated title. I want to start off by giving a brief overview and let you know my position coming into the Space Marine and 40k universe. Days before leading up to this release, I didn't have pretty much any knowledge of the lore of the Warhammer franchise or any experience playing any of the games. I just knew that the lore is super expansive and has been ongoing for a really long time. I actually tried to get caught up by watching some 20-minute lore videos on YouTube, but I did want to clarify that going into this title, I knew absolutely nothing in terms of what has happened or who certain characters are, and I wanted to make sure I mentioned that up front. I know there are some diehard fans of the franchise out there picking up this game, but my view is from a person with new eyes to the series. Space Marine 2 is a third-person shoot-'em-up hack-and-slash style game developed by Saber Interactive and published by Focus Entertainment, and obviously is a sequel to the previous Space Marine game released back in 2011, so fans have been waiting a really long time for this. To get all achievements, it took me roughly 40 hours, and overall I would say that the combat is this game's strongest positive attribute in my opinion. We'll talk more about the combat in the combat section of the video, but honestly it's what made grinding missions and fighting endless waves of enemies fun for me. If you like guns, swords, blood, and guts, then the up-close and personal style of fighting will definitely be right up your alley. The current price of the game varies depending on if you're playing on PC or console, with there being 3 different tiers to decide between when purchasing. You can either snag the base game for $60, the gold edition for $90, or the ultra edition for $100. The extra tiers pretty much just give you the 4-day early access to the game, a season pass, and some skins, and there is also a bonus skin if you pre-ordered. On consoles, the prices for all of those tiers are $10 higher, which is a little nuts. You take the role of Captain Demetrian Titus of the Ultramarines chapter, who, from what I gathered, was imprisoned after the events of the first game by this Inquisitor guy named Thrax on charges of heresy due to his resistance to the power of Chaos. Even though he was deemed free of the Chaos taint, this Inquisitor Thrax continued to imprison Titus for a century or so under torture. Thrax was later killed by other members of the Inquisition on the charge of heresy, and Titus was later freed. After being allowed to return to his chapter, Titus believed he disgraced them, so he chose self-imposed penance by becoming what is known as a Black Shield and joining the Death Watch, which is an order composed of Space Marines from multiple chapters dedicated to hunting and exterminating alien threats, which sounds pretty freaking sick. The game is set in the 41st millennium during the era Indomitus, the age of the Dark Imperium. There is a ton of backstory lore going on that you'll get hints of throughout the game. The lore is really deep, and I'm sure fans of the franchise will recognize certain characters that I just didn't know who they were and how they played a part in the overall story. I just know that there is a galaxy-wide, decade-long war going on where the Ultramarines are trying to reclaim lost worlds from its enemies and bring them back from the brink of collapse. The main enemies are the Tyranids, who have emerged as the biggest current threat, which kicks off the 4th Tyrannic War and sets the foundation for the start of the game. Titus is called in to help aid in the defense of Kadaku with his kill team, and you go through the campaign as Titus. There are basically 3 branches of gameplay that is offered in Space Marines 2. You have the main story campaign, you have the operations, which is like your mission-based PvE content, and then you have the Eternal War mode, aka your PvP multiplayer mode. I want to split up all of these into their own category to discuss them, but basically you can play the campaign and operations solo by yourself, or with up to 2 friends to make up a party of 3. I went through both the campaign and the operations for the most part with my bro, and then one AI bot took over the role of the third man. PvP is all online matchmaking up to 6v6, and before I forget, crossplay does work between both consoles and PC for the campaign and operations, but not PvP. I really wish there was a way to turn crossplay on and off for PvP if you wanted to, but they specifically said they wanted there to be no crossplay in Eternal War mode. It seemed like there was a ton of people wanting this, so maybe in the future it'll be changed. I don't know. The campaign features 6 missions, which takes you to 3 different planets facing a plethora of enemies and bosses. I'm not going to talk too much about the campaign just because of spoilers and the game just came out, but overall it should take you roughly 10 hours or so to beat it, depending on the difficulty you're playing on. For story mode, there is not an achievement associated with completing it on a certain difficulty, nor any extra rewards, but you can select between easy, normal, veteran, or angel of death. As you play through the story, you'll unlock operations as you go and get to certain points. I just waited till we finished the campaign to start them because the way that they broke down progression is a little different in this game. You play as Titus in the campaign, and he is a set character that can't be customized or leveled like your classes in operations. Pretty much the only thing that you can change is the weapon that you use, and you're able to pick up different ones throughout the missions. Story progression is shared to your buddies if you're playing with friends, so you can also join them and play as one of the other 2 characters in Titus's kill squad. They have different weapons that they start with as well. As you progress through levels, you'll get to checkpoints where you can head back to the battle barge or quit out of the game if you need to go do something or just take a break, which is a great feature to have because some of the missions can be quite long. Overall, the story features some awesome moments, cinematics are top notch, sound effects are amazing, and the story had me wanting to dive deeper into more 40k lore. I want to skip operations and talk about it last out of the 3 different gameplay branches that Space Marine offers just because I spent the most amount of time in it, and it is the game mode that I honestly enjoyed the most. Eternal War, being the PvP part of the game, features 3 different game modes you can hop into and play: Seize Ground, Annihilation, and Capture and Control. Seize Ground is kind of like Hardpoint from Call of Duty, Annihilation is like Team Deathmatch, and Capture and Control is like Domination. There are 6 classes that you can play as, so I'll list those real quick: Tactical, Bulwark, Assault, Sniper, Vanguard, and Heavy. You have to win a match with all classes for an achievement, but honestly my top 3 favorite classes to play in PvP would probably have to be Tactical, Sniper, and Heavy. All of them, when used correctly, can be super influential in the outcome of the score of the game, although PvP relies heavily on teamwork and using the role of your class correctly. The part of PvP that I thought was a little lacking was the amount of maps there are at launch, with there being 3 total. You have this medieval castle ruins map, the stronghold library map, and the forest base map. I know they are planning to release more post-release according to their content timeline, but who knows how far down the line that really is. I'll talk more about the battle plan, which is what the devs are calling it, in just a second, but a new mode is supposedly coming along with new PvP arenas. My favorite part of the game is the PvE content called Operations. Like I said before, as you progress through the main story, you will unlock operations that occur on the same planets and will pertain to the part of the story that you're currently playing through when you unlock them. There are a total of 6 operations currently in the game at launch, and they vary in length. Some can actually be pretty long, while others can be completed in 15 to 20 minutes, depending on the difficulty, of course. There is currently 4 different difficulties in the game, and I do have to keep saying the word currently, because as of right now there are only 4, but according to their battle plan season updates, there is a few new missions coming within the next year or so, along with a new harder difficulty as well. Right now we have these 4 different threat levels to play on: minimal, average, substantial, and ruthless. You start on minimal, and then every 5 ranks it is recommended to start trying the next higher difficulty. I think the progression in the operations mode is one of my favorite parts of the game. You can play as any of the 6 classes just like in PvP, and you can freely switch between these as you level them up. You have 3 loadouts to customize for each class. Each class can only use certain weapons. I maxed out the tactical class because it can almost use any weapon, but most importantly it can use the Melta rifle, which is one of the best guns in the game. As you get XP, you level your weapon up by completing challenges and earning mastery points. To get to the next tier of mastery challenges, you'll need a currency called Discoverable Armory Data. You can find these while on operation missions, and the color of the data drops depending on the difficulty of the mission you're doing. Minimal and average yield green data, while substantial yields purple, and then ruthless yields yellow. You can also get data by killing bosses, or a way to earn extra green data super quick is by doing trials located at the armory. These are insanely good for farming kills for the specific class achievements. If you're having trouble knocking those out, just load into the trials and repeat them over and over with whatever classes you have left instead of going through operation missions to grind them out. Getting back to the weapon leveling though, you'll want to earn mastery points to invest in the perk tree with each weapon. These perks are insanely beneficial to your build and can definitely help you as you get to those higher difficulty levels. All the perk trees work the same for the melee and ranged weapons. The perk tree for your class is the most awesome part. Each time you level, you get a new perk to put into your character, and man, these make a huge difference not only for you, but there is also perks to help your team as well. By the time you get to level 15, you start to feel like a true ultramarine. To top off the operation mode, you earn credits by completing missions as well, that you can spend on buying challenges for your weapons or armor for your character. There is a completion requirement for each piece of armor that can be fulfilled by either completing operations or winning PvP matches, which I thought was a really nice touch. I loved all the weapon and armor customizable options. The chainsword late game skins are amazing, and the armor pieces for the tactical class are my absolute fave. The combat and movement in Space Marine 2 can be a little tough to grasp at first, but it is super rewarding when you get the hang of it, especially during operations missions as you get your build leveled a little higher and fine-tuned to handle certain situations and enemies. On your screen you can see your health in the top left along with your shield charges, which will come and go as you get hit in combat and then perform executions to regain them. You'll see your squad's health bars under yours, and then your weapon, ammo, grenade count, and class specific special down in the middle. On the bottom right is your available med count, so you can see everything super clear and easily. I thought the tutorial at the beginning of the game did a great job at explaining the basics of combat. Then it's all about learning the strengths of the weapons, enemy tendencies, and then in operations mode, perks that are beneficial to be used together to create this awesome battle system between you and the enemies. Basically it depends on your class, but in my case, I have a primary and a secondary that I can swap between. I have a melee and nades. Then I have my special, which is my sonar. You can aim in and sometimes zoom in even further depending on the weapon. You have a dash and then a roll to evade enemy attacks, or you can parry and block. Blue circle indicators mean a parryable attack, and then a red indicator means dodge out of the way. Executing parryable attacks will net you with finishers on the small enemies while giving you a counterattack with your sidearm on the larger enemies. After doing enough damage to a bigger enemy, you will get the pop-up option to execute them and perform a finisher, which makes for a super sick animation. It would be awesome if these same executions were in PvP too. Forcing the friends of the enemy to see them get ripped in half by your chainsword would be pretty awesome. As far as PvP goes, each class has their own counter abilities that help them defeat other classes more easily, but also puts them in danger of other classes as well. I personally love sniping in PvP using his cloak ability or using the shield ability with the heavy class. It can make for some awesome battle scene moments. As far as PvE goes, there are a few bosses in the game that have unique attacks for you to dodge through, and watch out, you'll be encountering some of these mini bosses randomly during runs on Ruthless difficulty when you least expect it. Real quick, I'll go over the battle plan or the content plan for the announced couple seasons for this game. They have it planned all the way through 2025, which is really cool to see. And as you look at it, they have what is going to be included in the free updates versus what the season pass holders will receive, and as long as you bought the gold or ultra edition, you'll be good on that. First off, season 1 updates I guess will be added sometime this month. I know ultra wide monitor support is a huge feature that a lot of people on these Steam discussion boards have been talking about. Private PvE lobbies will be a great feature to have, because it is good to know that as of right now, you can't quite queue privately. I queued up with my bro and we did run after run together without anyone being paired with us, but after a while we did get a homie in there who was, I guess, solo queuing. Also, it looks like we are getting a Battle Barge sparring arena soon, which will be super sick, and then a cosmetic pack for the season pass holders. Season 2, which is slated to be over the course of the next few months to finish out the year, will feature new PvE missions, a new enemy, a new lethal difficulty, which I'm looking forward to, a new pistol, and some more skin packs for the Season Pass holders. And then Season 3, it looks like it will be in the first half of 2025, and it will bring another new PvE mission, a new PvP game mode, multiple new PvP arenas, a new enemy, PvE prestige ranks, which sounds pretty cool, and a new Battle Barge expansion, and also new cosmetic packs for the Season Pass holders. Season 4 will bring a new Horde mode, a new enemy, a new weapon, and you guessed it, more cosmetic stuff for the Season Pass holders. So looks like a lot of content is on the horizon for Space Marine 2, and I love to see it. If more achievements are added, you can bet I'll be booting this game up again to grind them out. Speaking of achievements, this is the perfect game for people who love completing games or trophy hunting. Chasing after and obtaining all of them in this game made it even more fun, especially if you like grinding kills or farming XP, then this is the game for you. There are 50 achievements in total, and there are very many different categorized ones. Of course, we have some relating to completing the story and operation missions, and a lot of miscellaneous ones requiring you to scan all enemies and perform a ton of different finisher executions. We have our collection achievement with you having to collect all data slates, which can be found all throughout the story and operation missions, some hiding more than others. As you play naturally through the game, you'll unlock quite a few of these miscellaneous achievements pertaining to each specific class, which you can use the trials for, and then after I did those, I started on the PvP ones. They are super easy. Basically, the hardest one is obtaining a 5 kill streak, which I got on like my first or second time playing. The rest are basically participation trophy achievements for playing 10 matches in each game mode, except for the Tactical Genius achievement that unlocks when you win a match with each class. After covering all the PvP ones, my bro and I replayed the Operation Mission Reliquary to obtain probably 2 of the hardest, or I don't want to say hardest, but difficult to pull off achievements, and those were Know No Fear and An End to Heresy. Both of these require you to play missions on the planet Demirium. Since you have to face Chaos Servant type enemies, Know No Fear requires you to perform 2 perfect parries in a row on a Scarab Occult Terminator, and it took me quite a while to get this because either other enemies would interrupt me while I was fighting the Terminator, or the AI would distract and kill the enemy that I was trying to parry. It was a huge relief when I got that one. And then An End to Heresy requires you to kill a lesser sorcerer while he's reviving a Rubric Marine. So you have to kill Rubric Marines first, and then there is a small window where you have to kill the sorcerer while he is performing his ritual. After those, all the achievements were done, except for maxing out a character class level, maxing out the level of a melee and ranged weapon, and then the kill-based achievements. After finishing the operations and replaying a few missions, we were not a very high level at all, but we found a way to level extremely fast and get discoverable data to max out our weapons, and also have a fun time doing it. We ran Mission 6 Ballistic Engine over and over, changing difficulty levels every 5 levels or so, until we felt comfortable enough to throw the difficulty on Ruthless and roll with it. At that difficulty, bosses can spawn, but for the most part, there are 2 choke points where you have to actually fight enemies. Other than that, you can fly through the areas, running right through and completing the stage in roughly 15 minutes. We perfected our strat, leveled up our characters, and funny enough, got randomly paired with another dude named Big Joe, who more than carried his weight. He never talked in chat, and he leveled all the way up to max with us as we grinded the same mission over and over for hours on end. I'm a huge fan of grindy achievements. I guess I'm a little weird like that because I like the idea of finding a strategy, perfecting that strategy, and then replaying it mindlessly until I reach a goal. In Space Marine 2, we did that for an XP farm, but also after completing the max level achievements, there were still 2 left, and those were the kill total achievements. As we played through the campaign for the first time, on the first mission there's a scene where you're meeting up with a group of soldiers to help them fend off the Tyranid invasion, only to retreat into a bunker to regroup. I didn't really want to retreat and wondered what would happen if you just stayed out there and kept fighting. Well, it turns out that you can do that, and it is the best strategy that we came across to grind kills for the kill total achievements. PowerPix also put in his guide that you can use this spot to kill enemies. You can respawn and repeat since the checkpoint is in the perfect spot for farming the waves of enemies. We found out you can manage the waves in co-op mode and just keep killing them over and over, refilling with the ammo crate right behind you. But the more efficient method is to actually do it solo and force the large initial wave to respawn in, using the grenades to take them out in massive amounts at once. It didn't take long, I think a couple hours of grinding to get the A Blight to be Purged achievement to unlock, which is the 20,000 kills achievement, and then a few more hours to get the Still a True Son of the Emperor achievement to pop, which is the 41,000 total kills. And that was the last one that I got, which after that I got my Defender of Humanity achievement for obtaining all others. Leading up to the release of this game, I was super hyped. My bro was super hyped as well, and we even said it was Game of the Year for sure. After the 40 plus hours I put into it, I can say that I had an awesome time and look forward to see what is added in the game in the future. In my opinion though, I think I may have set the bar a little too high for this one. I liked the game. The funnest part for me was the operations and grinding for those high ceiling achievements in a short amount of time, but it's like I didn't get super attached to the story, and the initial 10 hours or so I put into the game were strictly the story. It's not bad, and the story is good. The cinematics are killer, the battle scenes are crazy immersive, combat is top notch, but maybe because I'm not well versed in the 40k universe, things just didn't make that hit for me. As I look back now, I think having one of my class characters from the operations as the main character in the campaign would have been dope, because as the story would progress, it would seem like you're making progress on that character that you're playing as, and I get it's supposed to be a separate thing, and it really does feel that way. All of the modes feel separated, which isn't bad, but the operation grinding was probably my favorite part of the game. PvE content usually is my favorite, but the bosses weren't anything crazy, and the max level ceiling is pretty high and will require a lot of replaying those 6 available missions, which will take people quite a bit of time if you aren't insane and grinding the same level over and over for hour after hour. But it's almost as if there should be that progress being made in your operations class character as you're going through the story, because that ceiling is so high. I don't know, I enjoyed playing as Titus, seeing some more insight into his backstory. The PvP Eternal War mode is not too bad. I'm not a big PvP guy, but it does seem like a little bare bones, which is actually what some people are looking for. I think they probably will need some new arenas and game modes, so I'm glad to see them on the battle plan in the future. There aren't too many competitive third-person shooter games like Gears of War out there, so I'm glad we have this one. We ran into quite a few connection issues while going through the campaign, the operations, and especially Eternal War, but looking forward to see how the game plays after launch. It could be server issues, something to do with crossplay, I'm not really sure. Overall though, I will never forget my journey to 100% this game. I did give it a 7 out of 10 fun rating on my Steam review, and the experience was a fun one. I'm happy to see this game have a successful launch, and I'm looking into doing Bolt Gun sometime in the future, which is set in the 40k universe. I know quite a few people are interested in how Space Marine 2 plays on the Steam Deck, and I would say that it is almost there, but not quite. It does not have a verified rating on the Steam page, and after I tested out the first mission, I was getting 20 to 30 frames, which wasn't terrible, but then it dipped down quite far after running into the scene with a massive amount of enemies. I'm a stickler for good performance over anything, and I just couldn't see myself putting a ton of time into this game on the deck right now, even when turning the render resolution setting down in the general settings tab to balanced. The game runs okay until you get a lot of enemies on the screen. I think the devs have said that it will be playable on the deck by the end of the year, so hopefully they're working on it. It is super impressive that this game runs on there anyway. I believe the first Space Marine game has a playable rating, so I may give it a go on the deck as well. Thank you for sticking around for this long if you're still here. Let me know down in the comments if you are. This video definitely seems like a lot longer one, but there was so much that I had to share about Space Marine 2 and my journey to obtain all those achievements. I'll be finishing up my review after 100% of Akimbot soon, so it should be going up in the next couple days if things go according to plan. I appreciate all of the love on the Wukong videos. Crazy support for both of those. If you can, like, subscribe, do all that fun stuff, and I will catch you all in the next video. Peace.